Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
So we call this the Knowledge College for Aging. So the first hour is designed to help give you insight on things that will hopefully help us all prepare ahead for the things that we don't necessarily want to happen, but we want to know how to think about it. And I asked a good friend of ours, Corina Savela, with Total Long-Term Care Consultants. You know, Kathy Rowlands goes back with Joe like all the way to the absolute beginning. Probably back to the days of Brevard Alzheimer's, as far as I know. But this is a company that helps people manage everything from care management to case management. So a lot of times, you know, doctors start spewing information at you and you're trying to make the best that you can out of a complicated situation. And these people help people every day to manage their care. And so just like we talk about, I love a line that Amy Van Fossen, elder law attorney, has said. She said, Kerry, most families deal with stuff once or twice in their lifetime, you know, when it comes to like these legal matters. She goes, we're doing 20, 30, 40 of these a week, and we've been doing it for 20 years. There's not much somebody can bring to us that we haven't had to navigate before. And that's kind of how I feel about you, Corina. You've done it all. And what I asked her to do is, could you help us? Our theme is organization. And I said, this isn't like, I know I need to clean out my closet. I know I need to clean out my garage. I'm standing here in front of you admitting all this. But what I asked is, you know, when there's an emergency, the first thing they ask you when you get to the ER is, you know, give me your list of prescriptions, give me your all these things that you need to have. So I thought it would be really great to get from somebody who does this for a living to help us figure out how we get organized. So with that, I want to welcome Corina Savela.
Thank you for inviting us and letting us share what we learn. Like you said, we get called in when things are a mess. We get a call from a daughter in Connecticut. My father's in the ER. What do I do? And okay. And then you just start. You start digging in. So we're going to talk today about how to get organized and what you need to organize. And those are two different things. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is yours, mine, and ours. And everyone says, why do you want to talk about that? Well, because in this world that we live in, we have what we call blended families. We have couples that are married. We have couples that have been living together for 30 years. They've never been married legally. We have single people. We have divorced people. We have people with kids, people without kids. We have people with your kids, my kids, our kids. There's every kind of combination of family out there. And everything usually goes along fine until something happens and there's money involved. So I'll give you a little story. Couple have been together for 25 years. His kids, her kids, everybody's been fine and happy. She gets Alzheimer's and needs to go into memory care because he can no longer take care of her. She doesn't have the money to do that, but he does, and he's been with her for 25 years. So he's more than willing to pay the $9,000 a month for her care. And her kids are more than happy for him to pay that because they've been together. They have a wonderful relationship. But his kids are not very happy because they look at it as, that's my dad's money, that's not her money. And then things start to happen. So those are the kinds of scenarios that we get called into. Those are the kinds of scenarios that pop up that nobody expects. Nobody sees it coming until it comes down to the money. So blended families, you need to really know where you stand, what's going on, even when you have siblings. You know, one child may want their parent in a facility, one child may not. And if the parents have dementia, the children can fight and control that situation. So we're not going to go into why you should do all the legal stuff. That was a different topic, but you need to do that stuff so that it's in place. So legally married is very different than being partners for 25 years. I have a neighbor who was with her partner for 30 years, and he got lung cancer, and he went to the hospital. She was not a healthcare surrogate, so the children were called, and once they were called, she got a knock on the door from the sheriff's department who said, "We're here to collect your partner's belongings." And the children had called the sheriff and said, "My father's dying in the hospital, and we want to collect his stuff, and we want to make it easy." So they walked in, and literally the animosity was such that if there were 10 knives in the drawer, they took 5. If there were 3 plants on the dining room table, they took 1. And they literally cleaned out half her house, and then gave her a piece of paper that said she needed to pay them for half of the house or they were going to force a sale. So these are the reasons you need to protect yourself. Even if you're legally married, your children can have differences of opinions, like the example with the husband who wants to put his wife in memory care. His kids are like, "No, why should my father pay and we lose our inheritance because he's with this woman?" Even if they're married, they can argue that. You have adult dependent children. There's a lot of adult dependent children now due to the disabled living longer than they used to live, 40 years ago. Now we have people that have disabilities that they would have died at 20 or 30 years old. And now they're living to 40, 50, 60, and their 80-year-old parents are taking care of them. And then something happens. And then the other siblings step in and say, "Well, mom took care of her. Now that mom's gone, we don't want her to have all the stuff. We don't want to pay for her to be in a facility. And we're making decisions for mom now. So now we're making decisions for her or him." So all these are things that you need to consider when you're making your organization plans. And I always recommend keep it simple. So here are some examples. Get a file folder like this. Get a binder with paper, the clear book stuff. A binder like this, a box. You can get this at the dollar store for $1. Put all the envelopes in it, all the important paperwork. Keep it simple. Do whatever works for you, but keep it together. Don't have it spread all over the house. We all have our own ways of living and our own, the phone, the utility bills are in the kitchen, and in the den are all the investments and insurance, and in the bedroom are the legal documents. Don't do that. Put them all together and keep them together, but keep them safe. Obviously, there's a lot of important information in there, so you need to have them somewhere safe in your home or in a safe deposit box or wherever you're going to put them. Keep it simple, keep them safe, and keep it separate from your day-to-day stuff. Okay, why you should keep what you keep. So you go to the Publix and your husband's at home watching the baseball game, or your partner, whoever, or you're single, you go to Publix and somebody hits you and you're in an ambulance going to the ER and you're unconscious. What happens? You get to the ER, they check your driver's license, they send an officer to your home, try to find out, who is this person, who's going to make decisions for them, what's happening. Or the ER may have information on file, and that's your ex-husband's name because you got divorced 5 years ago and your ex-husband was your emergency contact when you went in for an appendectomy, and it's still on file. So you need to have information that's up to date, and you never know when something's going to happen. You could have an acute event like a stroke or a heart attack, simple trip to Publix. And nobody has time to think about this. None of us want to think about this. It's not fun. It's not exciting until it's necessary. And then it becomes very exciting and very important. And you're in a panic and you're dealing with an emergency because by the nature of the beast, it's an emergency. So you're pumped up and you may not necessarily make the decisions that you would make if you were calmly thinking about it. And so you need to think about these things before they become an issue. Okay, so now on to the real topic, which is what do you want to put in your boxes or your folders or whatever? So healthcare, obviously. You want to make copies of all your important cards, your insurance cards, Medicare, Medicare Advantage, your VA card, your driver's license, front and back, make copies of them. The other thing people do is keep 5 years worth of cards. So a lot of times we get called into a case, we open up somebody's purse or wallet and they have Health First Medicare Advantage, they have WellCare prescription drug plan, and they have a Humana Medicare Advantage card. And so which one is active? Which one is current? Get rid of your old cards. You don't have to throw them away. You can put them in your folder in an envelope that says old cards, just in case you ever need them. But get them out of your wallets, get them out of your purses. Keep your front page, just go to the Kinko's and lay all your cards on the copier or do it at home. Make a front, make a back, keep it in the front of your book. I have, this is how we do it for our clients. So, I have a page here with all the business cards, and then I have another page with all the IDs. And that's what I use. Okay, here's the doctors they go to. Here's the lawyers they have. Here's their IDs, the insurance, etc. Are they a veteran? Their veteran card's right in there. Makes it so much easier than, oh, you were in the military? Okay, let me figure out, are you registered with the VA? Blah, 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 blah. So keep all of the cards in at the front. And then you want to keep a card for your pharmacy, your doctors, and your living will and healthcare proxy. All that is healthcare. And you keep all that at the front because if you're ever in a medical situation, that's what they're going to want first, right off the bat. So that's assuming you have a living will. That's assuming you have a healthcare proxy or a healthcare surrogate or a healthcare power of attorney. And then your physicians, when you go to the doctor's office, collect a card, buy one of those little folders or those pages I just showed you, put all the cards in there and put the date of when you went to the doctor. So if it's an old doctor you haven't seen in 10 years, he shouldn't be on the front page. He should be in that old folder envelope. Then you want to contain information about household bills. These are your regular bills, your taxes, your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, your water bill, your electric bill, all those sorts of things. If you have a passport, your Social Security card, every year you get a Social Security statement saying what you make. Your amount for the year, your award letter. So keep that, because if you're in an accident and you're in a nursing home afterwards and you're unable to return home, your family's going to need to apply for Medicaid, and that Social Security award letter is the most important thing you can have when you're applying for Medicaid, besides your bank statements, etc. So don't make it hard on them because you can keep it. Put it in your book. Power of attorney, that's for paying bills and your financial stuff. Keep all that together. Investments, have a section for investments. your insurance policies, who the beneficiaries are, your pre-need funeral information. This is the one that gets me all the time, especially for single people or people who don't have children and have nieces and nephews that are taking care of their affairs. When you pass away, the death certificate asks for your date of birth, your parents' names, your education, your location of birth, your profession, and any family relatives, because there are issues with funerals and death certificates that only family can do that strangers can't, and I would be considered a stranger unless I was a guardian. So keep a piece of paper with that information on it. That's listed in here. Trust documents, put those in there. And I recommend having a folder for healthcare and a folder for your financial stuff. And some people may have 3 folders, their household folders, their medical stuff, and their investments. It depends on how much you have and how complicated your life is. Everybody's different. Legal documents, you definitely want to have a copy of those. And the person you name on those documents should have a copy of those. What I did in my family, you have to trust people, of course, but then again, you should, if you name them to execute what you need, is you put a copy of the stuff that applies to them in a sealed envelope, and then you mail it to them or give it to them and ask them to put it with their important paperwork. Because if I go to your house and I open this up and I find a document for Aunt Judy, oh my gosh, this person is 65, but she's responsible for Aunt Judy, who's 90 in a nursing home in Illinois. Okay, now we have a more complicated problem because now Aunt Judy in Illinois needs someone to take care of her because this person who I'm taking care of cannot no longer take care of her Aunt Judy. So keep all that information in there. And you can see how these things build on each other and expand. And again, if you have adult dependent children, you want to have a folder for them, same thing. So what documents do you need? The healthcare surrogate or proxy, a living will, and those are 2 different things. Your power of attorney and estate, will, for your physical stuff, divorce and marriage documents. Do not throw those documents out, especially if you've been in the military, because if you're a veteran, you might qualify for VA benefits, but in the application, you have to provide all the details on all your marriages, his marriages, her marriages. And believe it or not, I've had people who were each married 3 or 4 times. And I had to get the husband's names and the divorce decrees for all those documents. And when somebody's 82 and has dementia, yeah, I married Joe in New York when I was 18. And it was annulled or divorced or something when I was 21. And then I was married for 10 years to, Billy, and he was in Texas. And, they don't know where these documents are. They don't know where these people are. They don't know if they're still alive. Keep these documents, keep them in your document folder. Marriages as well as divorces. Military paperwork, I think everybody knows about the DD-214 if you were ever in the military. And just a side note, if you're ever in the military, and you should be registered with the VA and have your VA card, even if you only go once or twice a year just for the required visit the PCP, because that means you've been in the system. Makes things a lot easier. And you need a copy of your birth certificate. So if you have that, that makes things a lot easier as well. And if you're from another country and you have a visa or you have a green card and any other kind of paperwork like that, obviously you need to keep it. I just went to the Social Security office a few months ago, and I had a client, she's getting Social Security, but I didn't have a copy of her card. I went and asked for her card, and they said, oh, well, she has to prove she's a citizen. We don't have her paperwork on file. Okay, she's 84. She has complete dementia. She's in a memory unit. How am I going to, where am I going to find this paperwork? And she can't help me. So please keep the paperwork. Okay. To online or not online. So technology is grand. I love technology, but in a hurricane, technology doesn't work. So you need paper copies. So you can keep the most of the stuff online, but you do need to keep some stuff in paper format that you can take with you. Whether you evacuate or don't evacuate, all that stuff doesn't matter. If you can't get online and it's 4 days without electricity and there's no phones and you have no way to get online, you're just going to be stuck. And we all saw Katrina where people were displaced. So if you have a folder like this or a little box like that, you can throw it in a Walmart bag, for heaven's sakes, and take it with you, and you have everything you need to start over. Now, that's easy to say. In an emergency, it's not always that clean, but you get what I'm saying. It's a lot easier to grab that than say, go get the trust documents in the file cabinet in the bedroom. Go get the monthly bills out of the kitchen cabinet, et cetera, et cetera. You grab your box, you hit the road, or you just grab your box and put a mattress over your head in the shower. Whatever you're doing, just save your box or your folders. So portals are great, and they're a great way for information. Your pharmacy, your medical, your insurance. You may go to the portal for Geico for your car insurance, to Allstate for your house insurance. Then you have a CVS portal for your drugs. But there are some drugs you don't get at CVS. You get them at a specialty place. So you have a portal there. And then you might have your water bill online. You have your FPL account. You pay your taxes online. You have an online account for whatever. That's great. It makes everything easy. But you need to save those passwords somewhere. Because if you get in an accident at Publix and you have a head injury, or you have a stroke, or you fall down, or you are getting dementia and you're slowly having a mental decline, you're not going to know when you don't remember that password anymore. So if you start falling behind on paying your bills or something, and somebody comes in to help and everything's online and you don't know your email address, they're not even going to be able to get into your account. So I recommend keeping your passwords, and I recommend saving a statement from everything you have online, one statement for each year, because sometimes things change with the billing departments of these places. And that means bank accounts, FPL, anything that you have online, you should be able to print a statement out. And you'll see in here, I have cell phone, exclamation, 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 because everybody has all their secrets in their cell phone and they have a code on it, or they don't have a code on it, but it's not paid. So I show up and I find an iPhone, but it doesn't work even when I charge it. So is this iPhone with T-Mobile, or is this iPhone with AT&T, or is it a Boost iPhone? So I have to, and what number is it? What phone number does it have? I don't know this person. I got called in, or I'm at the ER, or the physician's in the ER and they're going through your stuff trying to find someone to contact, and they have your phone, but they don't know the number. And you should have your phone locked because you have a lot of important information in there. So you need to, cell phones are the worst. And when you may not realize it, but most bills now, especially cable bills and cell phones, are the worst. They have a special code, a PIN code on the bill, and they will not talk to you unless you have that PIN code. And a lot of times the person in tow to say, yes, we want to activate this phone. So once I go to T-Mobile and AT&T and whatever, and I figure out what company it is, then I have to convince them, okay, can you look at the SIM card and tell me what phone number it is and whose account it is? Because maybe it's an account for the niece up in New York has added their aunt as another phone on their account. So it may not even be their account. The phone may be in somebody else's name. I don't know. Cell phones are the worst. I've spent so many hours in cell phone companies trying to activate a phone or pay for a phone bill or something like that. Same thing with Spectrum, internet. They won't talk to you without that PIN. If I have the bill in front of me and I can look at the PIN, I can turn your cable on, I can turn your cable off, I can do your phone, whatever you have through Spectrum. So it's important to print those documents and to print them each year, because this happened to me a few months ago. I called Spectrum and I had a bill from 2023, but they changed their billing system. So the bills were different. And that's our old numbers. We have all new account numbers. So it took me a while, but I eventually got it figured out. So make those statements, print them out every year. Pick a month. February, there's nothing to do in February, or August, it's too hot to go outside in Florida. Do it in August, print all your statements, reload your documents. You can put your old paperwork in an old folder. Same thing with your bank accounts. Bank accounts, you need to print statements because you need to have the full account number. And once people can get, like, your children come down because you've been in a car accident, they need to help you. Once they can get to your bank, they can see all the stuff you pay online, and that'll help them. But if they have statements, it'll help them get in.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses, and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.